Okay, would you rather ride out a power outage with unlimited snacks but no Wi-Fi, or unlimited Wi-Fi or no snacks?
I would choose snacks over Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You cannot take me away from food.
Yes. What's up, College Station? I'm Grace Hollowell, and today my guest is the city's Emergency Management Coordinator, Lauren McGrath. Hi, Lauren.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. We are here to talk about emergency preparedness, which is very important, and something that I find unique that the city has as an emergency management coordinator, and you are relatively new to the city, so
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you.
So to kick today off, let's just start off by telling us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Lauren McGrath. I am the Emergency Management Coordinator for the City of College Station. And what I do for the city is help the city prepare for, mitigate against, respond to, and recover from emergencies. And we're not having emergencies every day.
Right.
So a lot of what I do is very proactive in planning. We're training, we're conducting exercises, and it's really just trying to work with not only departments internal to the City of College Station, but as well as our schools, the university, or other local, state, and federal jurisdictions, working together to make our response and recovery efforts better.
Yes, and it is a very important and very stressful job. I can imagine at certain parts when we are in an emergency. So what made you want to get into that line of work? Have you always been someone that was, making your family run drills on, fire safety and emergency preparedness, or was it something you kind of fell into?
I kind of fell into it. That was definitely not me growing up. It was when I was getting my master's from the Bush School at Texas A&M. I went to a job talk about emergency management. The Texas A&M emergency manager was doing a talk and just about what emergency management is and what we do. And I immediately thought, this is the coolest thing ever. And so I ended up interning with Texas A&M Emergency Management. And so with that internship, I was able to work down in our Community Emergency Operations Center, which is what we call the CEOC, and work with Texas A&M University, City of College Station, City of Bryan, and Brazos County. And so when this position opened back up, I thought that this was a really great opportunity to get back into the exact place where I fell in love with emergency management.
Yes, and we are happy you're here, happy you are doing that good work. And what I ask this on almost every show when I find out there's an Aggie, which 9 times out of 10, I am interviewing an Aggie. So what made you stay in College Station?
I loved the uniqueness of emergency management here. I think there's only a couple in the nation that have a shared emergency operations center. And so I loved that all of these jurisdictions are coming together and we all have the same goals, not only to support our own community, but to support the communities as a whole. And so having the group of people that love what we do as well and I get to work with every day is what I love about it.
Yes, absolutely. We are a very unique community here, but we try our best to, whenever anybody needs help, we're always there to help lend a hand.
Oh, absolutely.
And what is something about your role or about emergency management in general that you wish more people knew?
Probably that it's a team sport, really.
Yeah.
Something my mentor says a lot is that we don't own anything. So I don't own any resources, right? But if something happens, I have to get a resource to support, whatever someone may need. So the relationship building and the coordination that we do on those blue sky days is what's really important and is going to make our response efforts more successful.
Yes, in that term, blue sky days.
Yes.
I can imagine what that means, but just to clarify, what does that mean versus a dark sky day?
Sorry. Blue sky day is just like a normal, regular day. Nothing's
no
going
emergencies
wrong,
happening.
no emergencies, yes. And so I know a misconception about emergency management is that we only show up when something bad happens.
Right.
but really we're working every single day behind the scenes, coordinating with the city departments, coordinating with other jurisdictions, just trying to plan and prepare for an emergency.
Absolutely. And what is a misconception that somebody might have about your line of work?
I think a lot of people think that our main responsibility is just the response piece.
Yeah.
Which is not true at all. I mean, probably 90% of what we do is planning, it's practicing, it's exercising, it's all of these chances to make ourselves better. But then there's also the recovery piece, what happens after an emergency. And so, after an emergency, you're still coordinating resources, right? You're trying to get back to that new normal. But you're also trying to secure federal funds too, so that you can help support the city in that way.
Yes, and our city is a unique, I've never lived anywhere that had weather quite like College Station.
Really?
I am from up north. I'm from the snow belt, about in Erie, Pennsylvania, about an hour or so from Canada.
Yeah.
So we're pretty consistently cold throughout the winters. But I feel like here it's kind of like you never know what the weather is going to do, which can, again, place a lot of added stress if you're not prepared for that type of situation.
Right.
And I know my husband and I, the first Texas rainstorm that we had when we moved here, we were like, what? We have never seen rain like this before. What is going on?
Yeah.
I think we should have done a little more research looking back on how to navigate something like that, because we were not prepared at all.
Well, that's okay. Now you can be prepared.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've kind of touched on this a bit, but what makes you so passionate about getting up every day and coming into work and helping serve our community here?
Yeah, so I love that I get to wake up and every single day is completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something new to tackle every single day, every single week, every single month. But more aligned to what I actually do is I love that I get to work with a wide variety of people from different backgrounds, different levels of experience. And it presents a challenge to me too. I have to build relationships with people. And when they're not all the same type of person, I have to figure out how to do that. And so I love connecting with people, and especially when it finally clicks. And so that's something that I love doing.
So what is a big lesson that you've learned so far, either with your time here in the city or just overall since you've started in this career? What is the number one thing that you've learned?
I think overall, and I know you'll probably hear me talk about it so many times, but it's because it's that important, which is the relationships.
Yes.
I have to have relationships built with people where I can call them no notice, maybe even the middle of the night, and be like, hey, I need this resource or this piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And so to be able to have that relationship with someone is really important, and there has to be a level of trust there as well.
Yes, trust is something that is very, very important, especially with this type of work. So before we get into the topic of today's episode, how can people contact you if they have questions about anything that we talk about here today?
Yes, so we are actually working on updating our emergency management webpage. The city of College Station has a new website.
Yes,
which
we
is
do.
Really exciting. And so I'm working on getting our emergency webpage updated to have some contact information. But in the meantime, until that's up, if anybody needs me, they can call the fire department, and they can get to me pretty quickly.
So what defines a disaster in your line of work?
So it really depends. I'm not just working for those large-scale emergencies.
Right.
Anytime anybody needs any resource that they're not able to get themselves, or something that they don't already have, they can call me. And so I am involved in smaller things, and then I can also be involved in a larger scale disaster or emergency. But really, when you start to look at those kinds of emergencies where you have those federal declarations and things like that, it's really going to be an emergency that's going to overwhelm our resources, where I can't get that resource as easily locally anymore, that we have to look up to the state or federal government.
So what are the most common types of emergencies or disasters that our community is most vulnerable to?
So what we see most commonly here is going to be like those severe weather type emergencies. So you're going to see hail and flooding, the high wind events, or even like excessive heat. Those are what we most commonly see here.
Yes, and that is something, like I mentioned, the rain I was not used to, the hail. I can handle 4 feet of snow in an hour, but the extreme heat and hailstorms and raining all day was something that I was not prepared for. So what are the first steps that individuals like me who may not be from this area, or just might not know what to do, what are the first steps that they can take to better prepare for these unexpected events?
Yeah, so I think the first and most important thing is to find a way to be informed, especially for emergency alerts. So making sure that you're able to receive emergency alerts, but also making sure that you're getting reliable weather information, because you don't really know what to prepare for unless you know what's coming. So that would be my first step for individuals who are trying to be more prepared. And then as far as like preparedness tips for anything that we might face here locally, I can go into specifics on some, but really there are a lot of great resources online that I will be linking on our website soon, which would be like ready.gov, which is a federal website, but they have a lot of great individual like preparedness pieces of information on there.
Yes, and part of those resources include a go bag.
Yes.
So for those who might not know what a go bag or an emergency kit is, what sort of essentials should they keep in there so they are prepared?
Yeah, so there are some basic necessities like water, non-perishable food, medications. Can do like those portable phone chargers. Things like that you're going to absolutely want to have in there. But there are some other things too that might be specific to each family. Like if you have a baby, you might want formula, or not might, you should have formula.
Yes.
Or if you have animals, dog food, or if you have kids, comfort items for the kids, or maybe some activities for the kids. Things like that to really specify for your family are really helpful. And like we had talked about, ready.gov has a lot of those, like a whole page of checklists of things that you can consider for an emergency kit. But definitely those basic necessities, the food, the water. And
batteries, charger.
Flashlights.
Yes.
I mean, there's a whole list of the items that are really important to be in an emergency kit.
Yes, and they're the items that you take for granted every day.
Yes.
But once you are without them, you realize how important they are.
Yes, like your phone.
Yes, like your phone. So how often should families review and update their emergency management plans?
I would suggest once a year, just at least checking it. Or if you have any family changes.
Yes.
If you have a new pet, you have a new baby, definitely add some things to your kit for that. But I would also check and make sure things haven't expired.
Yes.
Because you don't want to have an emergency or be without power and then realize the baby formula is expired.
Yeah. So that is something that is very important to do.
Yeah.
Again, another thing that you wouldn't think of unless this is something that you're doing every day or reminded of. So what role does the city's emergency management team play before, during, and after a disaster?
Yes. So before a disaster, it's lots of planning and coordinating and that relationship building that I talked about. There's lots of like regional planning teams, and it's training and exercising with our first responders, all those efforts to really improve how we would respond and recover to an emergency. During an emergency, especially if it's something that's going to overwhelm our resources, I will be in the Community Emergency Operations Center, the CEOC, and that's where I'll be helping with coordinating resources and also help to make sure that communication flows clearly. And then afterwards, it's trying to get our community back to normal, and so still coordinating resources there with cleanup efforts and things like that, as well as trying to secure that public assistance grant funding from FEMA for the city.
So a lot of what we're talking about can be scary and stressful. So how can people stay calm while still being prepared for these emergency situations?
Yeah, so I think that for us and what we do, we're coordinating with each other, we're communicating, we're practicing all the time. And so I have relationships with those around me that I'm comfortable in, that, if something is happening, yes, it gets a little crazy, but we're used to working with each other. And so there's a level of trust and a level of comfortability there that I think really helps.
Yes, and that's why being prepared is so important. So I definitely encourage anybody who's watching, if you haven't brushed up on your preparedness, if you might not have a plan in place or one of those emergency kits, definitely get that going. Even this weekend, it is very, very important, and you don't want to wait until it's too late. But going off of that, are there local resources, alerts, or systems residents should sign up for to stay informed during these types of emergencies?
Yes, so we have Code Red, which is our local emergency notification system. And Code Red is very easy to sign up for. It's currently on our webpage right now, and it will be on our webpage for the foreseeable future, forever. To encourage residents to sign up for that. That's how they're going to get emergency notifications. Making sure that your emergency alerts are on your phone. Think like Amber Alerts and things like that. I know sometimes Amber Alerts may annoy someone if they go off in the middle of the night and they turn them off. But just make sure that those emergency alerts are on so that you can get that information in an emergency.
Yes, that is very important. Like you said, they can be annoying, but again, there's no set time that emergencies happen. Right. So if it's 2 a.m., you'd rather be notified than not.
Yes.
So how can our neighborhoods or community work together to improve resilience and disaster readiness?
I think for them to communicate and work together and be informed as well. Make sure that residents in the communities are signed up for the local emergency alerts with Code Red, but also checking in on your neighbors.
Yes.
Communities that work together like that seem to recover a lot better. And so having that community resiliency with communicating with each other.
So beyond preparing for emergencies, what can individuals do to reduce risk and help minimize disaster impacts?
Yep. So having that emergency alerts, signed up for that. Having different ways to receive reliable weather information, whether it's like an app on your phone, if you're getting it through the TV, through radio, just not TikTok, right?
Yes.
And then, and there are certainly things that people can do within their own lives and their own home to help reduce the impact of a disaster, even within their own home, like clearing debris in their yard and things like that. There are a lot of small things that people can do to minimize the impact. And I'll hopefully have some great resources on our webpage for that with ready.gov on what individual preparedness tips people can take.
Yes, and that is something Tommy Schilling, our code enforcement supervisor, when we represent to the students here who receive some sort of code violation, open storage was a big one. The students never, they would always question, like, well, why, if I have stuff on my porch, why is that such a concern? And not only does it, bring critters and unwanted guests, but if there is an emergency, every second counts. So having something in the way way of your door frame, of blocking the first responders from getting to you can be a problem. So making sure that clear path, clearing the debris from your yard after a storm. I know you don't want to do it, but it is very, very important. So how does our city partner with schools, businesses, or other organizations to strengthen overall community preparedness?
Since I started about 3 months ago, I'm still learning about all the great ways that specifically the City of College Station partners with the schools and businesses and organizations in our community. But specific to emergency management, we coordinate and work with like our local schools, with Texas A&M University. We have lots of like safety committees, planning committees, things like that where we're working together. But also like businesses. I do public outreach opportunities, presenting to those businesses, maybe something that's specific to them, and working with them to help them prepare for an emergency.
Yes, and that is something, especially for the bars and restaurants nowadays, it can be scary sometimes. Situations can kind of get out of hand. So not only for the business owners, but if you're a patron going to these businesses, knowing where the emergency exits are,
Right.
Planning an exit strategy. Don't leave your friends by themselves.
Oh gosh, no.
Knowing what to do in those types of situations as well is very, very important, because emergencies, they happen out in public too, not just at home.
Right.
So do you have any personal examples or stories of a time where preparedness really made a difference?
Yeah, and this might not be a large example, but there was a time in one of my previous positions, a different jurisdiction, where we had severe weather coming through. Mm-hmm. And I'd overheard on the radio some conversations about, well, what do we do with high winds? What's our protocol for high winds for responder safety? Because we were expecting some high winds. And I was monitoring the storm at that point, and I was pretty sure we didn't have any high winds at that point, but I had no way to really validate that. And so I had a great relationship with the director of operations at our local airport. And so I reached out to him because they have equipment that monitors wind speed. And he was able to immediately get me my own personal login for their software that can give me whatever the wind speed is in our community. And that was not a middle of the day call, that's middle of the night call. And I think it highlights that all the stuff that we're doing every day, those relationships that we're building, it's really important. Because this may have been something that's smaller, just getting access that, we're only getting 8-mile-per-hour winds. But it shows that that's someone that I can rely on. And same for him, he could rely on me in the time of an emergency.
Right, absolutely. And if our listeners or viewers take one thing away from this episode today, or just one action or step that they should take, what should it be?
I would encourage people to sign up for Code Red and make sure that they're getting those emergency alerts on their phone. And not to scare anybody. I just want people to feel confident in their ability to weather any storm or walk through any emergency.
Right, and that Code Red can be found at our website on the emergency management page. I know I'm signed up for it.
Good.
So I am prepared now. I wasn't when I first moved here, but I have done the steps to get myself more prepared. And before we go, we're going to play a quick game of Would You Rather, all related to what we discussed today. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, would you rather ride out a power outage with unlimited snacks but no Wi-Fi, or unlimited Wi-Fi or no snacks?
I would choose snacks over Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You cannot take me away from food.
Yes.
So.
What is your favorite type of snack?
Oh my gosh. I love sweets.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Sweets.
Yes.
Okay. So would you rather practice one long evacuation drill or several short ones throughout the year?
Probably one long one.
Okay.
Just kind of get it over with.
Yes. Would you rather have to cook every meal on a campfire stove or only eat cold canned food for a week?
The stove.
Okay.
Because, again, you cannot keep me from food.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to want a warm meal at the end of the day.
Yes, absolutely. Would you rather be the family's official supply packer or the communications officer in an emergency?
I'm going to have to be the communications officer because I overpack.
Okay.
And so my husband is probably a better packer than I have to bring a huge suitcase.
Gotcha. I'm the same way.
Anywhere I go. Yeah, you understand. So communication.
Yes. And finally, would you rather stockpile gallons of water or boxes of batteries?
Water.
Okay. Why?
I love water. I have water on me at all times.
Okay. Yes. And I am also the same way. I know we
Okay,
were talking
good.
about before.
Yes,
I
okay,
struggle
good.
with hydrating, but I always have my water bottle with
Yeah,
me.
you have to because if it's gone, you're gonna be really thirsty all of a sudden.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today,
you.
Lauren. One more time before we go, where can people find more information?
Yes, the City of College Station Emergency Management webpage.
And that's what's up.